Jason Lance.
Here.
Norman Warner. Carla Harmon.
Here.
Chris Miller.
Here.
Robert Wade. Matthew Kieran. Here. I am present.
Please review the agenda. If there are no additions, we'll move forward. All right. Please review the previous council minutes or approve it.
I move we approve the council minutes.
I second.
Second.
No, this is regular, right?
Yeah, we'll just do it separate. Just more specifically, approving July 13th minutes.
That's
Okay, you got a second from the July 13th? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, please review the July 27th minutes. Special.
I make a motion to pass those minutes
Give a second.
on July 27th.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Please review the payments.
Wasn't Brad Miller on last month?
I saw that too, and I was wondering why he was still.
I voted on last
getting
month.
It is last month.
Okay.
Those payments
No,
are,
I mean, a month, in July on for June.
I think he finished
Maybe
his
it's
last
scanned a
couple
little
of
bit.
days. His last couple of days were right at the beginning of
The next pay
the
period.
next pay period.
I reviewed the payment record, I make a motion to accept.
Give a second.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we have our representative from Highland Insurance here, and we're going to give her a few minutes. And if anyone has any questions for her, we'll let her speak, and then if you have any questions, we'll follow up with her.
Small hand up.
These are some member benefits brochures. I'm gonna steal one for a minute and then here are some of my cards. Anytime any of you have questions, please feel free to call me, send me an email, whatever. We're here to help. We provide your property and liability insurance coverages, which means obviously all of your properties. Your casualty or your liability coverages includes general liability, which would be your premises and your operations. So if you're snow plow on the road and you run somebody off, well, actually, no, that's a bad example. You kick up a rock or something when you're mowing, that would fall under your general liability. We also provide your public officials liability for all of your goings on, however you want to put it. Your auto liability, employment practices liability, all of that kind of stuff. We've got your equipment. I think we've got a little bit of equipment and a couple of vehicles that we provide coverage for as well. I'm so glad to get to finally come up here. I think I've been up here once. Are you Brett?
Yes.
Okay, I knew I recognized your face. So I'm glad to finally actually be able to just come and see you all and let you know somebody does exist. And Brett usually just kind of said, we're good, let's go. And so it's a pleasure to be here and let you guys know that I'm here for you. Whatever you need, answer questions, do whatever. I think you had something going on that you had a question about?
Yeah, the question I always just brought up for like the rentals down at the schoolhouse and such. people who donate to use that facility, are they required to have their own insurance?
It depends how the Ohio plan would like to see it. If you have an organization, a business who has insurance, who wants to run it, say for an employee party, where you're gonna have probably maybe an atypical amount of people that you might normally have for like a private birthday party or something like that, they'd like to see them have insurance and provide you with a certificate. If it's just, you know, a resident who wants to have a birthday party or an anniversary party for whatever reason, they don't expect those people to have, you know, to go out and purchase special insurance. A lot of times, personal insurance policies will provide some sort of liability coverage. So, you as an entity, as a public entity, have immunity for, you know, most situations as long as you're not negligent or legally liable for any type of injury or property damage. So,
Okay.
and obviously, you know, if somebody's doing something maybe a little questionable and you want to know for sure, renting a bouncy house. As long as you guys aren't renting a bouncy house and they want to have a bouncy house for their little party, has nothing to do with you, you're okay. You know, I don't know if you want to let them do, I can't think of a bad example, but, you know, I mean, anything that you guys aren't responsible for, you have no liability in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so pretty much they're covered.
Yeah. Well, you're covered.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We're covered.
We don't worry about them, we worry about you. Let their insurance company can worry about them, but yeah, you're okay.
Okay.
Any other questions for me? If you have a minute, this is just some of the benefits that you guys have. It just talks about what we do for you from a claims standpoint, from a risk management standpoint. I don't know when the last time our risk manager was out here. His name is Greg Henneke. He's the local guy. He will come out and review your operations. He's probably the last time he did it was several years ago. And he'll sit with the head of every department, just ask questions and see what your procedures are, make sure that all the things that you have, and actually I think all the points that he looks at are in the member benefits section. And there's some information on our claims management. Claims, I don't think that you guys have had any claims. If you have, it's been a while. But claims is a real simple process. You don't have to go through a huge nightmarish scenario of filling out a loss notice form. You call me, you email me, you say, hey, this happened. You give me who, what, where, when. I send it on. We get an adjuster assigned, and they get in contact with you. There's no brain damage, jumping through hoops, any of that kind of stuff. We try to make it as easy as possible on you guys. One benefit I'm not sure that you're aware that you have is 2 hours of free legal advice every year, every policy term. So if you have something going on, whether it be any EOC claim or you just need some advice on contracts, or you know, maybe somebody wants to build something, you have zoning question, whatever, you can contact me for that. I let the claims manager know, he gets an attorney on it in contact with you, and you can utilize that. You don't have to use the 2 hours all at once. Maybe use a half hour here, half hour there, whatever, but that's kind of a nice benefit there.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If someone would rent our Cardinal Center for like a wedding reception,
Mhm.
and they have alcohol and serve alcohol, and someone gets too drunk, leaves and gets in a wreck, are we liable for
No.
that? Okay.
No.
All right.
No, you, in a case like that, you want to make sure that whoever's renting it makes sure that who's serving the alcohol, if it's not them, if it's not a BYOB situation,
Yeah.
that they're, you know, maybe a lot of caterers will supply servers and things like that, and you just want to verify that everybody's
Okay.
certified and all that, but unless it's an event you hold, you have no liability.
Okay.
But with that, let's say you guys want to have a Christmas party for yourselves, there, here, wherever, and it's a village-sponsored Christmas party, and you want to have a little wine, a little beer, you have what we call host liquor liability. So you do have coverage for liquor. Obviously, you want to make sure nobody gets too boogered up
Right.
and gets in a car, but you do have coverage for that in the event that you want to have have some alcohol. So if you want to have a little, I don't know, party in the park or something, raise some money for the village, cordon off a little beer garden and sell some beer, you have that's included as well. As long as you're not in the business of manufacturing or selling it, selling a cup for $5 is not what they consider being in the business of. It's a fundraiser or whatever. I don't know if you have a park committee or something where maybe they want to raise some money to, I don't know, put in some new equipment or something. You can certainly do that. Beer is a big money maker, so.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Anything else I can do for you? Any questions? I know you have a copy of the application. The process is pretty simple. You don't have to go through every page. It's might be more for Jesse, but, next year will actually be a lot easier. You'll be happy to know. It'll be a one-page form, basically to fill in any updates to number of employees, your payroll, and then, of course, we'll attach all of your schedules. You'd update those accordingly. If there aren't any changes, just sign that signature page on the app, send it to me with your annual appropriations, and we're good to go. We quote it up, either come back out and review it with Jesse or send it to him and he shares it with you, and we go on to the next policy year, hopefully, probably. Definitely, right?
Anybody else have any questions?
I truly mean it when I say if you have questions, call me. My cell phone number is on there. That's usually the best way to get me. I'm on the road a lot, or working from home, so I answer it no matter what time. I guess I shouldn't say that, but I do. I do. Even if I'm not working, as long as I can hear it ring, I'm answering it. So
Okay.
I'll give y'all another one of those. But please feel free to call me. Let me know if there's any changes to your app and all of that, and we'll get you quoted. That was easy enough. Thank you all so much for your time. It was nice finally able to come up and say hi, and
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
my pleasure. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
All right. All right, comments from the public.
Yes, I have a few. Trees were cut down at the school July 23rd about there. Was the company contracted to clean up all the brush also?
No.
No, there's been a mix-up because we had people volunteer to come and get that wood, and basically what's happened is, the first person only took what they wanted, and they didn't really let me know, so a little bit of time went by, then I called the next person who was in line, because it was in order of first come, first served, and they essentially did the same thing. That's happened, we're on our third person that kind of come pick through it.
The
I
first
didn't
person-
know if that would be a safety issue with the kids.
Yeah, the first person had some equipment breakdown, that's why it took so long to get it gone, so.
'Cause I think there's some wood actually on the basketball court.
Right.
I read in the paper Monday, there's an issue on Zerber Road with some houses and their septic systems, and it said something about Gettysburg. And I don't understand how our involvement is with that, but
I went to that meeting.
Okay.
Our involvement is essentially when you guys hooked up with, when Gettysburg hooked up with Bradford,
Mhm.
you guys paid for that sewer line going to Bradford. So for them to tap into that sewer line, they would have to get our permission. We would, of course, somehow be involved in getting some kind of administrative fee. The county health department said that, of course, they would be responsible for collecting fees. Part of the problem, though, is that the value of the properties, for them to tap in, of course, they would have to have some kind of debt retirement set up also.
Mhm.
Of course, it's very low income out there, from what I'm understanding. Again, I'm kind of new to the situation out there. It's kind of a complex situation. So I don't know if you remember, you might have even been at that council meeting where the county health department was here. It was essentially the same conversation, except more parties are involved now.
Okay.
The meeting I went to last week, the EPA was there, the county commissioner was there, the health commissioner was there, the health department was there, Bradford's people were there,
It
everybody's-
sounds, from what the article states, they're probably just gonna condemn everything.
Yeah, I read that.
Unfortunately, they haven't officially done that. Right now, they're doing a cost analyst to see like that's the big question. What is it gonna cost all parties involved? Because nobody wants to pay for it because they're gonna have to put in like a sewer station.
Yeah.
But before they make any final decisions, they decided to do basically a big cost analyst. But that seems to be, again, because of the low income area, because it's low income properties. It obviously makes more sense to just condemn those properties. Nobody really wants to do that because we're not about people's lives, of course. But that seems to be, obviously, nobody, we don't pay anything. Dark County Health Department or Dark County Commissioners, Dark County doesn't want to pay for anything. Nobody wants responsibility for, after the lift station is built, somebody's gonna have to be responsible for managing it. Again, so as you can see, it gets really complicated really fast for a few very low income properties, in which the cost of their sewage is gonna probably be almost as much as the rent probably is. And of course, as often as people move in and out of places, what's gonna end up happening, we experience it here in Gettysburg, sometimes people move out, they leave properties, the owners totally abandon it, and it's like all this money incurs and builds up on this property, and then you can't even sell property, et cetera, everything becomes a conundrum, so they're really looking to probably condemn, but that decision hasn't been made yet.
Now, those houses have been there all these years. Because I was on council when this first come up, and we said, no, we didn't want anything to do with it. These people have lived there all this time without any kind of septic system?
Okay.
Don't they have septic
They
systems?
have the,
Aerator things.
whatever people have when they live out in the country with the septic
Septic
tanks,
tank.
yes. they
So
do.
why all of a sudden aren't these septic systems
Because
not
they're-
working? They're not pumping them out?
They're not
There's
legal
nowhere to,
septic tanks.
yeah.
It's not
They
legal.
were
They don't have
pumping it
legal
down
septic
into
systems.
Greenville Creek. The pipe got cut, broke down, what have you, and now it's all up in the
Back.
ditch.
Okay.
But the bigger concern with it, when I talked to Dave Brewer, that the thing that concerns me and it concerns our engineer is that's just the toe inside the door. They're using these Zerber Road properties to get the door open, and he let the cat out of the bag, and it kind of alarmed me. They want to create a sewer district that then takes all of Smith Road,
Mhm.
and not just those properties on Zerber, but they want to go that way, they want to go that way, so that from here to Bradford, and then you're gonna have the people on Children, or on New Harrison Bradford, they're gonna want them creating these districts. The problem is, our system was designed for a percentage of growth. Now granted, we don't have plats going in, but that's not to say down the road we won't. If we sell everything that way, we're stuck. There's no annexing, there's no factory potentially coming here if we would go that way, or a plat or anything like that. So we've killed ourselves when it comes to growth if we go that way.
Right, because that was brought up, I think the last time that I was on council, that they kind of suggested that if we let Zerber, then they would like to let all the houses all the way to Bradford hook in. And that's when we kind of put the brakes on them, like, who's gonna take care of all this?
Yeah.
And kind of Bradford's got the last straw, whether they're gonna allow people to
Yeah.
plant any house.
Well,
They're
with
not
our,
really
They're
into
not,
the idea.
they don't like it.
we have a signed contract with Bradford, right? For-
Yeah.
Yeah.
For just us.
Exactly.
So, can we just say, no, we don't wanna do it if they push the issue?
Pretty much, and this is the.
Yeah, it's our line.
The tone.
Yeah,
the
that's what I'm
tone-
saying, we have a contract and
Yeah.
we don't wanna break that contract.
We're not breaking the contract, it's
Well-
our
Yeah,
line,
we can
it's our
say-
line going over
I
there.
know,
We
but
don't
I'm
want
saying
anybody
if
hooking
they
into
want,
it if we don't
if
have
the
to.
health district and the county commissioner wanna push the issue.
And they're
That's
pushing
fine.
it.
Yes,
Yes.
The county
we can
commissioner's
say no.
telling us,
Okay.
don't do a thing, just
Yeah.
sit here and be quiet.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that was kind of on the down low, if I may use that expression. Basically, somebody's just waiting for somebody else to say, absolutely not, we're not doing it. So that could be Gettysburg, that could be Bradford. I'll be honest with you, it sounds like it's probably about to be the
Bradford.
county. I'm surprised Bradford out already, but the county guys are definitely the county commissioner and the health commissioner. I'm surprised they didn't say no to basically, nobody really wants to do this, it's just nobody wants to be the one to say, let's condemn those people and kick them out either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing, Mr. Perrin, did you find out if there was a conflict of interest with Jesse being the village administrator and the fiscal officer?
Sent a letter to the prosecutor on July 12th. They have to in turn send my letter to the Attorney General. And I have no idea when they would send that back. No clue.
So who's mowing the lawn, the village property right now?
I have no idea.
I have personnel doing it.
Okay, because I noticed, it's probably been over a month ago, Hutman's mowed 122 Aldous Street. And I'm just questioning if we have people mowing, and I know that was because of the high grass issue.
Yeah, that's when I was signing my name to the notices, as we know that is not valid at this point. So before I was contracting, when it came to zoning violations, we were contracting that work out until we get one of the ordinances that we're on our second reading of is to amend the rates that we can charge zoning violators. Because right now, we don't have that defined specifically, meaning if somebody is in violation of not mowing their yard, using that as an example, and we send our personnel over there, it's gonna cost like $20 to do. Obviously, if somebody doesn't mow their yard, we send our personnel over there to do it and only get to charge them $20, nobody in this village is gonna mow their yard again, because it'd be cheaper to just make us do it.
But, and I know if the village mows the yard, if they don't pay, it goes on to the property taxes. But if we have Hutman mow, we gotta pay it now, or the village has to pay it now.
That's correct.
That's right.
So I would think you
Do we
wanted to
backbill
wait.
it?
Yeah, we back bill it, so we still could bill the property or property owner.
But what I'm saying is if the village does it, they're not out as much money right now.
Yeah, it costs
Because
money.
I'm sure
We're
Hutman's
out
costed
more
at
money
least.
if we put an asset, if we put a lien on your taxes. In the past, we've lost thousands of dollars doing that.
But you're having to pay Hutman's up front, and I'm sure that costs at least probably, what, $100?
It's gonna cost money to clean this village up, so we are gonna eat some expenses, and we've all discussed that in here in
Okay.
previous council meetings. I don't want any expenses, nobody here does. Obviously, we don't have to mow anybody's yard, we want people to just mow their own yard, that's why we send out letters first. I've even called people, I've knocked on people's door when I was doing it, before obviously it's pointed out that I can't be the one doing it at this point. So we're not, this isn't a punishment, we're not trying to punish people when it comes to zoning violations and.
I understand, I was just thinking that it's costing more to have somebody like Hutman's come in and mow those yards than it is just
Until
to
we
have
get
the
this
village.
ordinance, until we get this ordinance amended, where we can charge, we can select the rate, and then we do risk incurring expenses, that is true.
Okay.
All right, next.
I'll go. This is gonna take a little bit to get through because I have a lot. I will go as quickly as I can, since I finally had a chance to review minutes going back to December. Most of what I'm gonna bring up are red flags for the next audit. And there's a few other things I'm just gonna make some comments on. I have some questions as well. But first, going back to December 29th, and this has from the minutes as written. December 29 meeting suspended the 3 reading rule for the ordinance 2016-12, which should have been a resolution, by the way, since it was temporary, without the requisite number of votes required per Ohio Revised Code 731.17. When you suspend the 3 reading rule, you have to have 3/4 of the members, which in this case, since we have 6, it has to be 5. According to the minutes, there are only 4 in attendance, which means that those temporary, that ordinance for the temporary appropriations was invalid. Also, along with that, I recall no public notice of that meeting for a special meeting, which if that's the case, means that it's in violation of the Open Meetings Act, which also means that whatever was passed was invalid. So the auditor is going to notice that. January 12 regular meeting, failed to record the passages of the ordinance relating to fiscal officers' employment. How you've missed that, I don't know. That's just sloppy. February 9, regular meeting, entered executive session without a stated purpose, again, not allowed. March 2, special meeting, entered into executive session without a stated purpose, not allowed. March 13, special meeting, adopted resolution 2017-01 without suspending three reading rule, not allowed. Entered into an executive session without a stated purpose, not allowed. And you all know this, or you should, because we went over it many times. April 13, regular meeting, entered into executive session for stated purpose, which is disallowed, which is personnel. And this brings me to my comments afterwards. And this is the motion that was recorded following an executive session, which appears to be directly related to the executive session, which puts the motion itself on shaky ground. But this is a grotesque motion, and just the way it's worded. Councilwoman Carla Harmon motioned the village administrative duties be absorbed into fiscal officer Jesse Berry's duties and to grant fiscal officer Jesse Berry authority to hire, terminate, and otherwise manage village personnel as he sees fit. Carte blanche. Why on earth does council volunteer to give up its authority to oversee village employees? Why on earth?
Nobody's given up there.
That's what it is. Carte as he sees fit. It doesn't say in the best interest of the village of Gettysburg or as council, but it's just not.
Well,
Okay.
I'll take responsibility for that. That's just bad wording on my part.
I'm just saying, that's the official record. That's what council approved. It doesn't matter whether you wrote it or not, because this is what this council approved in the next meeting approving the minutes. And then the next part is the increased base salary, which was pointless to have in there because there's no amount given, no date, whatever. But the in the fiscal duties, administrator's duties. The other problem is it doesn't include the powers, because they're two separate things, duties and powers. Because the village administrator has the power to enter into contracts, and the fiscal officer does not. Now, I don't think that this motion is even valid, partially because the fiscal officer and village administrators are both defined by Ohio Revised Code what their duties are, and we have an ordinance that states we have a village administrator. You can't just absorb one position into the other.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So you sent a lawyer to the last council meeting to point all this stuff out?
No, I didn't have, no, you're getting off topic. This is not the same topic.
I thought I asked a question. So my
Please.
question is, why are you bringing all this stuff up again? We told your lawyers, and I'm sure he reported to you, that we're in the
My law-
process
no,
of-
wait,
Don't
may I
interrupt me,
please?
Don't interrupt me,
Hold on.
I'm
Let's
sure
do-
your
hold on,
lawyer
Jesse,
reported.
Jesse, hold on. Finish what you have to say.
My lawyer came to address the property maintenance issue only. I had no access to the village minutes until that day, which was finally sent to me over a month after I requested them, which were finally posted to the website earlier that week. So this is a completely different issue. This is not property maintenance. Okay, that's what he was for.
He did point out a lot
He
of
did bring
positions.
all that stuff up, which
He
is.
did.
Well, then
What's
he
taking me to my
did not
question,
make me aware that he
which
brought
is-
this part of it up. I know I mentioned it very little of it because I had very little opportunity to review stuff. But I'm saying this right now, is that you did not have the powers of the office of village administrator, which causes other problems.
I guess I can change my question to a statement. Your lawyers already pointed all this stuff out, and I'm sure if your lawyer did tell you, he would tell you that we already explained to him that we're in the process of correcting and even amending some of that stuff. So what exactly are you trying to
I'm
achieve?
sa- I am
That's my
saying-
question.
I am
Let's just
saying-
Jump to it. What are you trying to achieve here?
I am saying that you have never been the village administrator of this village, and as such, you did not have the powers. And this council did not do its homework and did not appoint, I mean, if you had been appointed and confirmed, as the law states that the village administrator position is done, then it would be less of an issue. But that didn't happen.
That's still
Okay.
that still doesn't explain like what your purpose is. You've made it very clear that.
I'm
right
just,
now-
I'm just reiterating, okay?
Okay,
Because this points to stuff down the road. Okay? May 11, regular meeting. Enter the executive session without a stated purpose. May 11, same thing. Adopted resolution 2017-40 without suspending the 3 reading rule. Adopted resolution 2017-06 without suspending the 3 reading rule. Everybody here should know this. This is not
The
new.
lawyer has pointed all that out.
Just
We're-
let-
No, he did not point all out, because we didn't go through all this. I did not go through all this with him. May 13, this is where it gets into the powers. Fiscal officer illegally entered into contract with Hutman's Lawn Care Services on behalf of the village. The contract, there is no indication the contract is either reviewed or approved by council. June 8, regular meeting. Adopted ordinance 2017-04. Let's see, is that the right one? Hang on, I think I pulled it wrong. No, that's 2017-05, isn't it? If I got this right. Yeah. 2005. Apologize for this, I may have gotten ahead of myself. This the ordinance, I'll refer to this is what I was getting at, the ordinance where the council assumes the responsibility of the Board of Public Affairs, it's invalid. Completely. For several reasons.
Explain.
Okay,
Assumes the
number
powers.
one, council doesn't have the authority to take the authority of the Board of Public Affairs.
What
Simply does
are you
not.
talking about?
Board of Public Affairs went away a long time ago.
It did, and according to Ohio Revised Code, when the Board of Public Affairs goes away, those powers go to the village administrator. There is no provision in the code for the council to take those powers. Not when it's created, not if the village administrator goes away, you have to reestablish the board automatically. There is no provision for that. So that part of this is invalid.
So again, what you pointed out are the invalid things that we're doing, the things that we're missing. What
Well, you can't
what
keep
are
pursuing this.
you-
You
What are
can't-
you trying to
why-
accomplish exactly? What is your goal here?
I want competent village government, which is not what we're getting.
We don't need to be screamed at.
Well, I don't need to be interrupted and lectured to by him.
I
Because
understand.
you're headed for a lawsuit is where you're headed. Because that's where I'm going with this. If this council doesn't behave itself, doesn't start knowing its own rules and paying attention to them, if it's not me, it's gonna be somebody else. Now, I'm just saying, this is invalid. It's poorly written. It contains basically 2 subjects, which is not allowed. The whereases aren't even whereases. It is deemed necessary and advisable. That's not a justification for what you're doing. That's not a reason. I mean, if you're gonna do it,
What
that's
ordinance is that?
self-evident.
What ordinance is that?
2017-05. Okay? So, no. You can't do it. Get a village administrator proper, or bring back the Board of Public Affairs. If council doesn't want the village administrator to have those powers, bring back the Board of Public Affairs, just abolish the position.
So,
Okay. Is that all you have?
No, I've got more, and you're not gonna like it either. I also wanted to point out that the firing of Scott Raleigh for the purpose stated in the minutes was wrong. He was never hired as a backup water operator.
that's what he told me directly when I spoke to him.
Yeah, and why was it reported in the minutes that way, though? It says he was fired because he failed to perform the
You've already
duties of backup
pointed out
operator.
that the minute taking is inconsistent and hasn't been done very well. And as I explained to you and your lawyer last month, that's an area where we're correcting and improving. So
Okay.
you pointed
All
out
right.
all the minute
Let's,
inconsistencies.
all right,
Is there
fine,
something
you've made
else you
that
have
point, let's
to-
move along.
Something new to offer?
Are you running this meeting or is he?
You're addressing him. so
Well, he keeps getting on me.
Finish what you have to say.
Okay,
We need to
well,
move along.
we're getting there. June 22nd meeting, special meeting in violation of Open Meetings Act. The meeting was improperly posted. The agenda listed in the posting didn't match what happened at the meeting. Any decision made at that meeting is invalid. So here's the question. You passed what you actually dealt with in the executive session, and out of it, you increased wages for Mr. Berry and for Susan Parkman. And I don't have a problem with her getting more money. But have those been implemented?
Yeah.
You have to give the money back. That meeting does not count because it violated the Open Meetings Act.
It was posted, that meeting was posted.
It was posted online. That's the only place it was posted.
Posted at the post office.
I did not see it at the post office.
That's
Well,
our
the-
responsibility.
The meeting was correct.
I never saw it at the post office. Did anybody see it at the post office?
I don't think it was.
Number
I saw it
two,
online.
well, yeah, the second,
Yeah, right here.
the,
And right out here.
the reason for the agenda was general personnel matters. That is not specific. The meeting, the purpose of the meeting was raising compensation for village officials or
And
whatever.
you're pointing out something that you and your lawyer have pointed out.
I'm
over
saying
and
you
over
gotta,
and over.
that,
Let's,
you don't seem to even care. Okay. Now, this, what's not been in the minutes that I noticed. No mention of the advance made to the water operating fund in January 2016, Resolution 01-2016. Was that advance ever paid back? As required to be done by the end of the year.
Is it the end of the year?
Huh?
Is it the end of the year?
At the end of 2016, it was supposed to be paid back. Was it ever done?
No, you were here in 2016.
I wasn't here in December. The council was, and council here was in January, and all voted and passed this resolution. Was the advance, and you're the fiscal officer now, was the advance paid back? That's the question.
no, it probably
Okay.
hasn't been.
If you don't,
I have a question. So you're gonna be a physical officer for almost an entire year, you're gonna abandon your post without notice, and then you're gonna come in here a year later and try to call this council out on something that you should have taken care of?
no.
Yes,
It
that's
was your
exactly
job to
what-
take care of it
that's
at that
exactly
point.
what you're doing.
No.
Exactly.
Fred, he had less than 30 days.
I'm blaming council for this too. They knew. It states in the minutes, in January's minutes of 2016. I'm just, and
You're
I'm,
calling yourself out on a technicality here.
That is
Your
BS.
responsibility.
No.
Yours.
okay. Well, I'm letting you know, you look at the water fund, operating fund amount, subtract $14,651.63. That's what you actually have to work with. And then add that money into the sewer debt retirement fund. And once I'm out, it's your responsibility. And council should
Once
have
you're
known.
out abandoning your post.
I did not abandon my post. I resigned
Out
in
of
disgust, is what I did, without a
Disgust is a good
contract,
word.
with a council who didn't
Disgust
know
is a
their
good
job.
I've had enough, okay?
All
If you two want to step outside and argue
I'm
and
sorry,
talk about
well,
this,
let me finish, because I got a couple of left things here, okay?
you have 2 minutes.
Fine. I'll just go straight to this then. I made a records request for the copies of the letters sent for the property maintenance violations. When I finally received them, they were redacted. Addresses and names were blacked out. I requested them very politely, and I was informed that Jesse disposed of them.
Can I say something on this?
Also, your lawyer has already corrected us on that. And
No,
you
well, I'm
pointed
correcting
out
you on
several
that.
times
If I
also.
revise code, gives me some rights.
Pointed out several
Yeah,
times.
And we're gonna see you in
We-
court.
We talked to the prosecutor and found out that they had to not be retracted. We found that out. I thought it was good citizenships not to be passing everybody's dirty laundry around. Sometimes I guess.
Redacted, no.
Yeah,
I didn't even question the red acting. I questioned 8 months on the job, there is no excuse for any fiscal officer in the United States to throw out a record like that. Did you attend local government officials training?
Got a whole year, not yet.
Well, you missed it this year. How are you gonna get your required hours in?
They do it online. And I have Mr. Brett Clark constantly
No.
sending me emails to.
No,
highlight
you are lying.
my
You
or
are
violation-
lying.
Violations.
There's no constant about it.
Brett,
Not at all.
I got a question for you. When you was on council, you sit right there, right?
Yes, I did.
Patty sat up there. She was the clerk, remember?
Yes, I did.
Now, you took over when she resigned, right?
Yes.
And you sat up there and told us of all the mistakes she made.
No, not all of them. And I
Maybe not, but
will admit to mistakes I made if you find them. That's not a
saying
big
you made
deal.
mistakes.
Mistakes happen.
I'm not saying you made mistakes. I'm saying you sat right up there and told us about the mistakes that she done.
but you was a council member,
Right.
and you let those
You
mistakes
okay too,
happen
as
when
well
you
as
was
the
a
rest of us.
council member.
Right?
You know, we can only do what we can do. Brett,
You're
I
making excuses.
respect
You've
you.
had 10 years experience, you've had 50, and you still don't know this stuff.
Hey, Brett, I respect your knowledge, I do. I think highly of it, I do. But you know, we kind of are inexperienced in some positions here, and we're doing the best we can. You know, there's a lot to learn. Unfortunately, for some reason, ever since I got on this council, it's like a plowed field. Why it's not running smooth, I don't know. Should be, needs to be, but hey, we're trying our best. And you know we ain't doing it for the money. If we walked out, half of us are on these seats because nobody else was here to film it. It's not like we signed up for this. We did, but you know, we're all trying for the better of the community. We are. Whether you see that or not, that's what we're doing.
It can't take just council trying to better the community. It's gotta be everybody in the community working
Yeah,
together.
we need people's knowledge, like what you have, and like everybody else has, to help better us, not try to beat us down. You know, simple. I mean, Jesse's new, the mayor's fairly new. Hey, we need help, you know?
The mayor's on his second term. Jesse's had over 6 months. Plenty of time.
Did you know
to
it
do it all.
in 6 months, Brett?
Huh?
Did you know everything in 6 months?
I didn't ask him to know everything. I asked him to know better than to throw out records. And I knew that the second day.
Yeah, you probably had the former physical officer, your mother, and other people helping you. My former physical officer, our former physical officer, i.e. you, abandoned your post without notice and have been uncooperative and
I
downright
have not been
hostile ever
uncooperative.
since.
And I have not been that hostile.
We have,
I've been critical. That's different than hostile.
we have Jesse in contact with fiscal officers from Union City, from Bradford, village administrators from Bradford. So they come and they meet with them and help him through his job and train him on his job, so we do things right. 6 months, there's a lot to learn in 6 months. But
Not
we
as
are
much
trying.
as you think. Not this. This is cardinal rule. This is like 101.
Well, for somebody that knows the rules, it might be, you know, but
Okay, you know,
thanks.
this all could have been better. And the statement was made by Brett that now I'll have to be a thorn in council's side. You're a citizen in this
That's not
building.
the
I'm
actual
talking
statement
now.
I made. Well, you made a misstatement. That's not exactly what I said.
It is
Exactly,
exactly
on
what you said.
Facebook.
I said I
had
was
it
not, I guess, and I said it tongue in cheek, which you don't get. Half jokingly, I guess I'm not being done being a thorn in council's side. That's
But you did say it. But you
I
did say
wrote
it.
it. You wrote some pretty stupid
On
stuff
the
too.
telephone, you stated to me, I guess I'll have to be a thorn in council's side now. Now, I haven't grown up in this village. I wasn't born and raised here, go to school here. I understand the motivation behind your resignation. I respect your reasoning. What could have happened was for you to say, hey, I'll be as helpful as I can to the next guy. But your introduction to him was walking in and browbeating him over an
No, it
audio
wasn't.
file.
I did not browbeat anybody.
It was a very hostile
It was
meeting.
not.
Okay,
It was not. Ask Joseph. He was here.
right, and I talked to Joseph, and he said it was very strained. So, what could have happened is you could have, and you still could be, helpful, but instead you have chosen the path of being the antagonist and pointing out all these, and I don't know if you were aware, your last audit had 19 findings.
I know. I looked at it. Most of them are pretty minor. 2 of them were wrong. The auditor was wrong about. One of them I actually pointed out to the auditor.
Okay, well, you know, it's unfortunate, and, you know, if you're gonna threaten us with a lawsuit, you know, do what you've gotta do, we'll do what we have to do. Chris is right, nobody here has law degrees. You don't have a law
Matt
degree.
does.
I mean, I'm talking council members. None of us have a law degree. None of us do this for the money. We're trying to do what's best for the village. We're trying to clean the village up. You know, and this is, you know, the kind of things that we get. And, you know, it's unfortunate. And to me, it's very telling. If everybody cared about their village, they would do what they could to improve their village and to help, rather than point out all kinds of, and what you're talking is spirit. I mean, it wasn't the desire that we give the powers and not the duties and all of that. I mean, that to me is a little bit ridiculous. We didn't do that. I mean, go back, use the same thing for you. Was your position invalid? We didn't have a contract.
It
We didn't have
doesn't require a
specific.
contract.
I know.
I told this council when I started, and this is why I didn't give automatically 2 weeks at the end of it, even though I offered to work to the end of the month, which was rejected out of hand.
For $25 an hour.
Nobody came back and made a counteroffer. You could have done that. I probably would have gone with it. But you didn't
Honestly,
bother.
Brett, after the letter you left them,
Which nobody read, according to you.
they didn't want to.
Well, then what's the point? Well, what are you saying? There's no argument there. They didn't read it. They don't know the reasons.
It was very, very inappropriate, very unprofessional. So I mean,
It was
you
also
expect
very,
somebody?
it was also very true, because every word of it is proven true based on the minutes that I've seen. I mean, I don't know how many times we go to executive session, I have pointed out, mentioned to council, oh, we have to have a reason to do this. You have to have a valid reason. Everybody around the table is here and hears that. Does anybody follow up on that and take it? No. The resolution thing, we needing a certain number of people, we've been through that. Does anybody ingest that and absorb that information? No.
Okay. All right.
I would just like to throw it out. I mean, whatever beef there is, from a lawyer perspective, I don't care. If Brett makes good points, that's fine. I sat down with Jesse, we sat down for an hour or two at my office, on all of the issues you just brought up. And I don't know how I became aware of them, either through your attorney or through you. So it's not an issue of, we're just sitting here doing nothing. They are trying to fix it. I have sat down with Jesse, he is sending the manuals to me and so forth. And I mean, if you, I don't know how to say this where it's coming off, I mean, there are mistakes. There are big mistakes that precede Jesse. But the thing of it is, we're fixing them. I let your attorney know, I researched the case law, and as long as what actually happened in the meeting happened, we get a chance to correct the minutes. And Jesse and I went through that, on how to correct the minutes. We are taking steps to try to determine whether or not you can have a fiscal officer and a village administrator. Now, I know that's your position, and that was, you know, Mr. Linda made that clear, but he even admitted there's no case clear cut answer to that question.
And I said as much too.
Yeah.
I know that.
So
It's
I
just-
guess, what I would say, and I respect you too, Brett, like I said, we worked together, it's gotta have time. I mean, we've gotta have time on this. I've already let the council know if it comes back, we can't have a village administrator and a fiscal officer, we'll have to go back to the Board of Public Affairs. No harm, no foul. We're doing what we need to do. I guess, I would say the mistakes are being made, yes, we're trying to fix them, but I'm not so sure that the village is gonna go down in flames, is what I'm saying.
You know, the village will chug along like it's always done. It doesn't
Exactly.
matter. It doesn't matter who's here, if everybody passes on or whatever. But it will do better if people fulfill their oaths. If they take the time to study. You can read through the village officer's handbook one time. There's a wealth of information in there, and nobody has done it. The Sunshine Laws manual is in the office.
I have read both. So, but I mean, the average person, I mean, I've got a high school education. I'm not perfect, I'm not that smart, but I've read it, and I've had to call Matt, like, okay, what do they mean by this, and what do they mean by that? And I learned something, and I reference it frequently. I've read through the village officer's handbook. I knew there were some concerns with, could we even put those two positions together? So, I mean, you're not surprising us with anything. And, I mean, you know as well as I have, when you sat here, I have a hard time remembering when we roll call vote, voice vote, you know, and some of those things. So, I mean, we're not city of Cincinnati. These guys aren't getting 60, 70 grand and a staff, you know, to look good. And, you know, we're all doing our best, you know, and, you know, if you think it could be done better, there was an opportunity to run for council and join the group. You know, there's 4 positions open, you know, I mean, and I know Paula, did you get on the ballot?
Well, I got a call saying some of my signatures were invalid, so.
Did you have more than enough?
I had
We had
14
14.
signatures, but
Okay, well, what I'm saying is, the thing, if, I know you and Paula have chatted and been friendly on some things, if somebody joins this group, now all of a sudden they become the enemy, I mean, what everybody's trying to say is, if you could channel your angst and frustration with, coming in, and I'd be happy to sit here. You come in, sit Jesse down at the table, say, hey, look, here's what I know, here's what is coming up here, here's what happens in February, you gotta have this ready by December. I didn't know any of that stuff. He has learned that stuff, and Karen Stubbs is trying to train him. But Union City does stuff a little differently than we do. And Bradford is not a lot of help, because they're totally on a different financial system. So, it's not like we're just trying to run reckless, people have made mistakes, and we admit to those mistakes. We've, pulled some of the zoning enforcement that we tried to do, and, that we're at the end of the day, we're trying to do what's
That's a
best for
prime
the
example.
village.
How does that even happen? I mean, that requires somebody to either not read the ordinance before enforcing it, or ignoring what it says. I mean, that's nothing. I mean, how hard is it to do that? Oh, and
Well, so what happened there, we mixed a couple of things, there were some wires crossed, but like I said, we did the right thing, we said, okay, those are invalid, we're backing up, we're fixing it, and we're moving forward.
you mentioned the sunshine laws. Is that like a rule book for?
the Sunshine
for
Laws
council?
Manual is published by the state of Ohio. It's
the
free
Ohio
online.
Open Records
It
Act.
it explains the Open Record Act, everything that has to do with village record keeping and how meetings
Okay,
are supposed to be
So is there kind of
run.
like a rule book for council to go by?
There's a guidebook.
Yeah.
It's the sunshine
The
law.
Sunshine
Sunshine
Law
Laws
has
handbook.
nothing to
Is
do
that,
with-
no, okay,
The Sunshine Law, and you can go Google Ohio Sunshine Laws, you can
Yeah.
download a PDF and
Okay.
read them. If you're having trouble sleeping some night, you can do that. It's sometimes.
I'm up with the middle of my ground.
All the Sunshine Law does is say when and when you cannot have a meeting, and what he's referencing, saying it violated the open meetings, that you have to notify, certain types of meetings have to be notified in certain ways and certain places, in conspicuous places. There's certain things that can and can't happen.
so that's kind of like a guidebook for council, what they can do.
It's not just council,
It's for
it's
everybody.
school boards, it's
Okay.
any public body.
So, do you has a, does the council has a body have to answer to the township or the county commissioners or anything?
No,
No,
I mean, in
okay.
regards to those,
Well,
No.
yeah, okay, so you're just your own,
I mean, ultimately, the Attorney General, I mean, like,
Okay.
we've requested a ruling.
yeah,
He'll tell us, well, you can't do this because there's case law on this.
okay,
But as far as a grander body, I guess immediately would be the Dark County Prosecutor. The
okay,
Dark County Prosecutor can remove any of us if there's criminal.
okay.
If somebody wants to sue us, they're gonna go to the Dark County Court of Common Pleas, and they're gonna file a lawsuit that way. That's how that goes.
Okay.
But, okay, anybody else? We need to move along.
Are you
Board of
done?
Tax Review, have you created one yet or not?
We are working on it.
Okay.
I have not created it yet. We haven't had an issue, so it has gotten pushed back, but I have not created
It
it.
was supposed to be within 6 months.
Right.
We're well past that.
And that's my fault. I overlooked that.
Well, it's everybody's responsibility, you know.
But
How are we doing on the ordinances and zoning for the end of my street, 127?
that is in process.
It's a long, I can tell you, it's a long process.
I know, but have they received any kind of letter yet, or are you still passing the ordinance?
No, we're waiting on the certified card to come back.
Okay.
We can't do anything, we can't even start the clock until that card.
Right, I understand. Okay. What about, well, my concern is, how are we financially coming in the town to possibly entertain getting a police force back in here?
Well, I can answer your question immediately. There will not be a police department.
Well, I mean,
well-
like the volunteer police is what I meant.
Well, even, I mean, that, we might be able to pick up some hours. But as you remember, they raised their price and they're like
Right.
$23 an hour plus the car, plus mileage. And they come and they read novels in
Wow.
the town. But as far as the village actually having its own police department,
Well, not that, no, no, no.
you're
I
about
meant the
200 grand.
volunteer
to do that.
police, because I've had a couple of them approach me since I was on the police committee at one time, and they were wondering how we were doing with all the drug bust and what's going on without, they were wondering if we were ever entertaining the thought of having them come back.
Sheriff's Patrol got ahold of you?
The volunteer ones, like the Armstrong boys and some of
Yeah.
the
Auxiliaries.
the auxiliary.
Auxiliary.
Well, anyway, I just talked to one the other day, and he was wondering, and I said, well, you know why we're not doing it anymore? And I said, there was some mistakes made, there was things that wasn't done for the money, and I said, so they decided not to do it for a while. But I said, now that finances are a little better, why don't you get something together and come and talk to them? But they're not gonna hire you if you're not gonna do the job that you're hired for.
Yeah.
And the comment was made that there was a lot of miscommunication and that the right people were not notified when there were problems. And I said, well, that's probably on both sides.
Yeah.
But they are entertaining the thing that they would like to come back and serve us. And with all the drugs and with all the people I've been seeing walking on the street, it might not be a bad idea to think about it.
Well, you had a drug overdose the week after the drug raid on Bridge Street at 223. A woman in her 30s, I think they said, OD'd, was laying out on the ground.
That's
Oh my
wrong, that's
gosh.
false.
It came on
They
the
come on the
scanner.
scanner that way.
Yeah, but she was drunk.
She was drunk, I'm the one
Okay.
who went and helped her up.
Oh,
I'm just repeating what was on the scanner.
Yeah, because that's the only thing you heard was just that part of it, you know what I mean? When they got there, the woman was laying face down on the ground drunk. Rock came and got me, I went over there. I said, ma'am, are you okay? Yeah, well, yeah. Her son came running out the door, she was just plasteredly drunk. Went in the house. Capasso's daughter had called in the meantime, and that was.
somebody that passed and just seen her laying there.
I just think it might be a little nice,
It wasn't
since we
anything.
now have had some serious problems and,
Right.
got all kinds of strange people walking up and down the street. You might think about entertaining it if you can hire them reasonable and they do what we ask. It would be kinda nice.
Right. Well, as you remember, the coverage we got was 4% of the month
I know.
with that. They're not gonna stop the drugs. They're not, they were here for speeding tickets. And honestly, I just mentioned to Jesse the other day, I asked about how we were in the general fund to maybe bring in some hours for some of the Norcold speedsters that we have and the East Main drag strip that we have now. And
It's really bad.
Adams Street.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
really
so-
bad now that you took that hump out of our street. I mean,
Right.
even the Dunkard,
Right.
it's like a
But-
jet.
Anyways, to use them as a problem fixer is not where we're going. What we're looking at is Bradford has done some crime cameras, and we're looking at maybe utilizing the school as an outpost for the sheriff's department. Give them like a little office room where they can have a rest stop or place to come write reports, get a car in town. And I do know from some of the drug detectives that they are a lot more active than you think they are. As evidenced by our drug bust. I kind of knew that was coming. I'm not saying I had the knowledge, but he told me, he said, we're getting ready to have some activity out there. So they very strongly want to see some cameras. That works better for them. It's less bodies. They're not paying a full salary, and they can do a lot from their office, from their cars. So we are looking at it. The income tax is coming in very well, a lot more than was anticipated initially. I think we're doing very well right now with that. Just this last month, where did that go? Just the last month, we had 11,000 So rather than tagging that and spending it, I mean, obviously, as Brett could attest, we were lean at the end of the year. When the new year started and that kind of rolled in, I was a little discouraged the first month. I think we got $100, $200. But oh boy, this is gonna take a while. Then it very quickly jumped up. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
You gotta go outside to buy.
Okay, but we want to wait because what that has done, what we have brought in, has kept the bills paid. And we've gained some, but there's not oodles of cash sitting around. So before we earmark some of that and start in on some law enforcement, which is what the citizens wanted, we're trying to be a little bit conservative with it and see where we're going to wind up, and then make a plan as we get ready for next year's budget to actually lay aside some money to do some either camera purchases or some targeted enforcement in that regard. So to answer your question, we're looking at that.
Okay. All right.
Anybody else?
Saying some of the things that Brett brought up, I was sitting on this council when Patricia was here, and I know what we spent to fix that situation. So some of the things that he has brought up by sitting on council, I know he's right. And if we can get them fixed, I sure don't want to see us have to pay out a lot of money like we did to the auditors for fixing problems. So if we can get them fixed and get them what he has brought up, if we can get all them fixed, so they do audits, so we don't pay a lot of money again, I would appreciate that as a citizen.
All right, appreciate it.
I'm done.
You got anything? Yes, sir.
Yeah. I don't know who do I address, Mr. Clark or the council, but just sitting here as a citizen, kind of calming down. If you got somebody that is basically a savant in this stuff and is going to use it against you, then that person can't start the statement with saying that they're for the village. Because if they were for the village, they would take all that knowledge and make it useful instead of piling it up, and then condemning a whole body and a woman that takes her